Mayor of Detroit, Mike Duggan's here in studio, elected as a Democrat, now running for governor of Michigan as an independent. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Connell.
It's good to see you and nice to have you here in New York. I think you're a good voice to speak to on these issues because not necessarily to react to what President Trump is doing or might do, but to talk about how the Democrats are reacting. You've been critical of your former party many times. What do you make of the way they're reacting to Trump's crackdown on crime in some cities?
Well, everybody would be so much better if the federal government and the local government were working hand in hand.
Right.
I would just talk about what we're having in Detroit. We have a very different experience. Of course, when I started in Detroit, we were the carjacking center of America, 750 carjackings. This year we'll have fewer than 75. A 90% reduction. And this year, we're actually partnered with the Trump Justice Department. They've committed several more gun prosecutors, DEA, ATF agents on raids. We actually have a good working relationship in Detroit with the feds.
That's interesting because I was speaking to an alderman from Chicago last hour. That was the basic question as a Democrat, of course, and just saying, you know, how can you work together? Like, if not this, then what? I mean, that's basically what the mayor was saying in that piece he wrote for the New York Times, Mayor Johnson, is like, right problem, wrong solution. We don't want the guard. Well, maybe something like what you did in Detroit would work then.
Well, and we had a surge in shootings earlier in the summer. We partnered up with the feds, along with the county prosecutor and our local groups, but raided 11 houses with the help of ATF and DEA that we thought were suspected gang activity houses, took 43 weapons off the street, and we have seen shootings drop dramatically. So we had 4 shootings last weekend, not the kind of numbers you've seen other places, because there is a seamless partnership between the Detroit police and the Trump Justice Department. And I think we need to see more of that in more cities in the country.
Yeah, and you're identifying or saying, and it's not like they're not doing that in Chicago, but they talk a lot about numbers being down X%. I know you said 90%. I guess if something's down 90%, you should be talking about it. But identifying that, yes, there is a problem. It's the how. Now, are you opposed to the use of the military in American cities to solve this problem?
Yeah, your question is, what are you trying to solve? So in the city of Detroit, for example, we had 4 shootings last weekend. Now, that's 4 more than we should have.
Of course.
But in a 140-square-mile city, it doesn't do you any good to try to deploy a guard to deal with that. What you do need is intelligence on who the gangs are, when they're planning to respond. And that's where we are working with the federal agents. We're breaking up these gangs. We've got feds running grand juries on them. That's the right way to go at violence in our cities, and it's been very effective in Detroit.
Why aren't you a Democrat anymore?
Well, when I ran for mayor of Detroit in 2013, the city, as you know, was in bankruptcy. Half the street lights were out, the ambulances didn't come for an hour, the parks weren't cut, and the elected officials just kept attacking other people. It was black versus white, city versus suburbs. And I ran and said the divisive politics is what's holding the city down. Recovery is not as far away as you think. When I'm now looking at the state of Michigan, I see the way the Republicans and Democrats are obsessed with fighting with each other. We just had 1 million school kids go back to school, and none of our schools has a budget in the state of Michigan because the Republicans and Democrats in Lansing are fighting with each other. I don't want to be a part of the partisan problem. I want to be part of the solution.
Because for years that's been making the problem worse. Everybody kind of knows that, but they have incentives to kind of feed into that in some ways. So you're trying to get outside of that. It's tough to do. It's tough to do. A lot of people, like Mayor Bloomberg, for example, did it here in New York. Ran as a Republican, even though he wasn't a Republican, because he thought that was the only way to get elected. Switched, became an independent. Now, then became a Democrat, which is I think what he was for years. But the point is, he didn't think it would work in the system, and then he had a lot of money, so he made it work. But it's hard. It's hard to be an independent. Hard to win.
When you run as a white candidate in an 83% black city in Detroit and you win 3 times in a row,
you've done hard already. That
seems like it's hard. Saying to people who, and you see the national numbers, 27% are Democrats dropping, 27% Republicans dropping, and 43% of Americans identify themselves as independents. We just haven't given people the candidate to express that voice. And in Michigan, I can tell you all around the state, it's being extremely well received.
On this issue in particular, just to focus on crime, because it's in the news, it's what we've been talking about, it's what you deal with on a day-to-day basis, and you would have to deal with it as a governor as well. What are the Democrats getting wrong, do you think? What's a better way? What's a Trumpian way, for lack of a better term, to tackle the crime issue, even from a messaging standpoint? What should we be talking about?
Again, you say Democrats, but crime fighting is done at a municipal level.
Yeah.
You've seen places like Baltimore where Mayor Scott has brought the violence down significantly. Mayor Bibb in Cleveland has brought the violence down significantly. The same tactics are everywhere. You have to show the people who are thinking about carrying a gun in the morning that there's going to be consequences, you're going to get caught, and it's going to be changed. And then you have to offer alternatives, as we do in Detroit, with jobs and interventions. If you do those two things together, you can drop violence anywhere, and we're just pursuing that strategy in the city of Detroit.
All right. Do you have any perceptions or any observations on Chicago? Let me play a clip from the president earlier, and this gets into this whole discussion about the how and what use the National Guard may or may not have in a city like Chicago, or I guess potentially one like Detroit. But here's the president.
I don't know why Chicago isn't calling us saying, please give us help. When you have, over just a short period of time, 50 murders and hundreds of people shot, and then you have a governor that stands up and says how crime is just fine. It's really crazy. But we're bringing back law and order to our country.
All right, bringing back law and order. He doesn't know why Chicago hasn't called him.
Yeah, I'm not here to talk about somebody else. The year before I ran, we had 400 homicides in Detroit. This year, it'll be well under 200. And so I'm just proud of the way the Detroit Police Department has worked with the violence prevention groups, has worked with the feds, has worked with the county prosecutor. And you have to do it year after year in a sustained strategy.
But at that level, you didn't call in the National Guard or call for the governor or ask the president to get involved at that.
You know, so I did under Obama. I asked for more help from the Justice Department.
From the Justice Department.
And they gave us some. When Jerome Gorgon, the new U.S. attorney appointed by President Trump, came in, I asked him for help, and he doubled the number of federal prosecutors. I am really pleased with the support we are getting from the Justice Department today, and it is absolutely having an effect on the violence in the city.
How much do just numbers matter, just for police departments? Hakeem Jeffries, leader of the Democrats in the House, just had a news conference that wrapped up, said Democrats are willing to work with local police across the cities, and Republicans have taken away funding from local police. This came up in D.C. when the president was talking about, and eventually did send the Guard in there. People said, well, they just need more, the D.C. Metro Police, and the president said, no, they have enough. From your experience running cities, how much of this is just a numbers game, local cops on the beat?
It is two things. You need more number and you need the right strategy. So we've added 350 full-time police officers since I became the mayor, but we are deploying them in the areas that have the most violence, and we're spending a huge amount of time on social media and gathering intelligence so that we're intervening before the shooting. So you need more people and you need better tactics. And those two things together, you can actually change the direction of a city.
Thanks for coming on the show again. It's good to see you here in New York. Maybe let's see if an independent can win for governor. We're going to follow this race very closely.
Thanks, Connell.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Duggan running